Hey fellow ServiceNow devotees, get ready to embark on a journey through the fascinating realm of ServiceNow with none other than the service ducks themselves. I'm James Downs.
And I'm Russ here. Whether you're new to ServiceNow, pre-Aspen veteran, or just a curious soul, we're here to bring you ServiceNow curiosities, exhilarating interviews, and don't forget the infamous A to Z game.
But mostly, it's about the random ramblings of two middle-aged guys with a funny story to tell, right?
Yeah, true. The ducks are ready, the mics are on, and we can't wait to have you join us. Let's dive in.
Welcome back to the Service Ducks podcast. As usual, we have Russ and myself, James, and today we are joined by none other than Scott Gamble. Welcome, Scott, to the Service Ducks podcast. Welcome.
Hi, Russ. Hi, James. Thanks very much for having me today. It's really a pleasure to be on here. I was nagging Russ for ages to get on here, so really happy that he finally accepted my invite and I'm part of the clan.
That's it. We gave in. That's it.
We gave in. Do you know what? We've got this, I've just noticed on Riverside, right? We've got this media button that when you were doing that intro, I was desperately trying to click and find a fanfare. And I think we should do that next time. I'm going to edit that in. We'll do a fanfare. When we introduce stuff,
we'll get a proper soundboard. That's it.
Some topical. I interrupted.
We'll start to sound professional soon.
I'm good at that. I'm sorry, James. Carry on.
That's all right. That's all good. Now, we've been doing a little bit of digging to just find out a little bit about your past. And, you know, per your LinkedIn, we're seeing that your current title is Principal, is it? And the ITSM space at ServiceNow. I don't know if you can just talk us through what you currently do at ServiceNow and, just give us a bit of background, I guess.
Absolutely. There's over 22,000 of us now, so you can be forgiven for not knowing exactly what I do. So I work within our leading practices team. So our job is to help customers, partners, anyone really in the ecosystem do the best they possibly can when it comes to getting value and implementing in the platform. So ways that presents itself, things like Now Create. So if anyone you know has ever used Now Create to help implement the product, if that product's ITSM, it's me or my learned colleague Chris that's maintaining and developing those assets. We also do, there you go. See, we're where the magic happens. We also do a lot of industry outreach. So I've been at a couple of events in the last couple of weeks. The Service Desk Institute conference called Spark 23, the National DevOps Conference, really just trying to get the message out, not only that we're here to help, but also to advocate for good implementation practices in the platform.
So you mentioned Now Create, and I know Russ, you've been involved in a few things with Now Create in the past, haven't you?
Yeah, well, when you were talking then, I was furiously writing notes going, I want to talk about that. I want to talk about that. Yeah, I did. Oh, God, I can't remember. I think that's where we connected, isn't it, actually?
Yeah.
I did a Zoom call, kind of like a celebration call with ServiceNow. I don't need to put a pound in the jar for saying ServiceNow, do I?
No, you don't. Only partner names. Yep.
It's our rules. Why am I asking? But yeah, it was a celebration of I think it was 1 million asset downloads. And I've not spoken about this actually, but yeah, I was asked to come and do a bit of a talk on why, or not why, but how I use Now Create and how it's helped in the past. So I went on and did that. So I'm a massive advocate of Now Create. How does that journey work? So you're part of the team that maintains the assets in there. So where do you get the information from? Is that people feed it into you? Do you make it up? How does that work?
So
and then we'll get back on topic.
So we kind of sit on the fence, right, between what our product teams. We work really closely with the product team developing the products themselves. We work really closely with our implementation partners. So we're thinking, partners, consultants, our own in-house expert services professional service team. So we're trying to kind of work that two-way conversation between them. So on the one hand, we're taking product information from where it's innovating and working out how we're going to give guidance to help you implement that. I'm going to say the dirty word already, Gen AI, right? That's one that's coming out. Now Assist is the one that's everyone's talking about.
Yes.
Right? So we have to make sure that partners, center of excellence customers, all that kind of stuff are ready to go. But to the same extent, we've got to have the feedback the other way. So as you guys do more of it and you say, hey, Scott, actually, we're finding that we're having to make this decision quite a lot when we're implementing. Not only do we feed that back into our assets and content so that gets better, and you don't have to ask that question a second time, we also pass that question through to our product teams to go, well, when you're enhancing and changing that product in future, how can we avoid this question coming up in the first place?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
okay.
a good analogy of that would be, when there's something we have to tick a box, and every time you do an implementation, you say, we're always going to tick this, you go to the customer, we're always going to tick this box, right? Why don't we just make sure that box is always ticked in the first place? And that's kind of where we are.
Yeah.
How do you sorry, go on, you go.
I was just about to explain, because I forgot to explain what Now Create is. If anyone's listening to this that doesn't know where it is, where have you been? And there's a great YouTube video out there actually that explains a bit more what it is. Not from me. No, it is from me. But no, from a techie point of view, it's I guess, let me sum this up for people. From I'm a techie. I use it as a kind of a portal to help me as a kind of a starting point for projects, right? So if I've got an implementation or a maturity project on something like, I don't know, an integration, I will typically go to Now Create, look at the collateral it's got in terms of mapping templates, integration document templates that help you run workshops, gather the right information, ask the right questions. And it kind of spans multiple products, multiple different process areas as well. So if you're a techie and you don't know about it, please go and look at it, because you're missing a trick. Sorry, James. Back to you.
Yep. No, I think it's actually a really good point. I think, especially working for a partner, you're expected sometimes to jump from one customer to the other quite quickly. And, although you may well have done the training for something several months ago or a year ago, the way things go, it can take a while before you start to work on that in a proper customer environment. So having resources that are just there that you can call upon is incredibly useful. Definitely, I've definitely relied on it quite a bit in the past. So yeah, kudos, definitely. I guess my question was going to be more aligned to how do you kind of garner that feedback from partners? Because obviously I work for a partner. Russ currently contracts, but works for partners in the past as well. How do you kind of garner that feedback from both customers and partners to improve both Now Create, such as like the starter stories or something like that?
Yeah, it's a really good question, James. So it's tough, right? And there are hundreds, thousands of partners out there, right? And thousands and thousands of customers. So what we try to do is find opportunities where we can have the maximum exposure to let people know we're here and get feedback. So, for example, SDI the week before last, I think I spoke to about 150 people, right? And 70 to 80% of those were ServiceNow customers. And naturally, they see my shirt, they see the logos, they ask a question, we make a contact, and then I ask them for more feedback in the future. We do things like we have regular kind of quarterly catch-ups as well with certain partners. Especially, I would link quite closely with a practice lead. So if there's a ITSM practice lead in the partner org, I might work quite closely with them to say, I've got some changes coming up. What do you think? Customer zero is also really important. So our expert services team kind of are almost implementer zero, right? So the feedback that they give us is the quickest, because they generally tend to take on new product implementation first, and we will go from that and build. But really, it's about we're constantly trying to expand our network. And my message really is, anyone who feels like they've got feedback on our Now Create assets, you can do it directly within Now Create. But if you've got a bigger question for me, I'm here, right? Connect with me on LinkedIn. Quite happy to talk about things. The more knowledge I get to help kind of crowdfund the improvements to those implementation assets, the better.
Another aspect which I loved, which I didn't actually realize until I attended the CMA course, is that there was a brand new kind of line there for value management. And actually, I've just come off a call just now, just talking about value in terms of how you measure it. And I know there's already a lot of assets and information available on Now Create that will help you with that kind of journey and measuring value, improving value to customer stakeholders. So again, another one that we need to take into consideration for customers, I think.
Absolutely.
So you mentioned before, and then we'll go through your journey, because I'm conscious we haven't got there yet. You mentioned you got, what was it, Spark 23? Did you mention Spark 23? Yeah, Spark 23 and SDI.
Yes.
So when was SDI? Was that the other week?
Yeah, so it was last Monday and Tuesday up in Birmingham. So the SDI, Service Desk Institute, for anyone who's listening who's not aware, they're a great organisation that work really hard with a lot of service desk organisations, which of course, is hand in glove with ITSM to help them get better. And I have history with them. I actually went through their certification process, so they've got star certification process
Yeah, yeah.
before. And those connections I made, I carried through into my career in ServiceNow. And now I use it as an opportunity to get feedback from people in that industry who want to talk about our product. I'm very lucky that because so many people use ServiceNow that lots of people come to me to talk about it. But also, I get to be able to show them what's changing and how things are going to be adjusting in their world. I mean, the service desk role is going to change like nothing else has ever changed before, really, in the next 5 or 6 years.
We've got questions on this. We've
can't
got
wait to talk
questions on this. So SDI being an event, it's a couple of day events where you go and do you man the stalls? Do you do man the stalls? It's not a market. Do you know what I mean?
So
or do you do presentations, or what do you do there?
So I spoke. I did a 45-minute I did a 45-minute session at the thing. But I would put events into 2 categories, and you guys have probably been to a lot of them. You've got your kind of very much sales events, which you've got lots of vendors with stands and people walk around and grab bags full of stuff.
Yeah.
I would say the SDI conference is more of a peer event, so it's far more informative. So instead of you're looking for your next ITSM tool, you're looking to speak to other people who do what you do, and as a result, that is very much focused on talks. However, I have been to events like SITS, and I'm sure you guys have probably been to SITS. If you haven't, you've got to go. That's where all the vendors go and drop all their swag, and you go around and we've done talks there as well. But I'd say there's the kind of 2 main events, both of them equally valuable, because you can speak to 150 people, 200 people on a day, and you just don't get that feedback. You can't arrange that many meetings with customers in a day, right?
Yeah,
so to get that raw feedback, it's super useful.
See, I think I went to an SDI event years ago in London, and I went with my boss at the time. This was when I was running. I shouldn't mention this, should I? But this is when I was running service desks, and we literally went to London, went in the event for 30 minutes, and then just went on a pub crawl around London. And that was his idea, not mine. He was like, "Come on, should we go?" I was like, "Yeah, all right then." I think at the time he hadn't told me he'd handed his notice in, but I think that was
okay.
I'm really lucky that because of the badge I wear, lots of people come to see me speak. Right, I'm under no illusions. It's me. We've got a great product, a great team. People are really interested. So generally, I'm quite lucky when it comes to talks. People tend to fill the seats out.
Yeah, so I you've actually enthused me to look for the next one. So I went to the World Forum, CreatorCon and World Forum last week. And I came back and I told you, didn't I, James? I probably made you really jealous, but I said it was absolutely brilliant. In terms of, did I learn much that I didn't know about Gen AI? No, but the networking side of it was absolutely fantastic. So I think I need to start. I came back thinking I need to go to more of these events. I need to go out more. I need to get out of the house. I need to get out of this office.
I mean, it's a big question, isn't it? In terms of like, we often talk about, our listeners are like developers or people just getting into the ServiceNow game, and they need help in understanding what kind of core skills or other skills they need to build up as consultants, or to be more advisory, or as opposed to just pure ServiceNow knowledge and pure platform ability. And I've not even thought about it. Going to, like you said, Russ, going to SDI and going learning from others as well, and networking outside of this kind of like ServiceNow community. Is that something that you would advise, Scott? Like just going out there and having a look and see what others are doing, or is there value in doing that as maybe someone who's a developer, or someone who works as an architect,
absolutely,
or any kind of role in ServiceNow?
So being very frank, something that being part of ServiceNow I have to be very conscious of is not becoming completely absorbed with the product that we deliver and we sell, right?
Yeah.
We have to be in tune with the wider world out there, and things are changing, and we are very good at what we do, and I'm passionate about that, but there are things other people do better, right? And the only way we're going to innovate as an organization is if we're learning from them. So anyone who's involved in the ecosystem, I would strongly recommend that you step out of that whenever you can and just get your ear to the ground to see what's actually going on in industry and what's changing. We think of the wider space. We've got people who are seeing something like Gen AI, and we talk about disruptive technology all the time, but you guys know as well as I do, this is truly very disruptive, right? And people are thinking, what's my job going to look like in 12 months' time? Right? If you're just watching ServiceNow content all the time, you might not see that. So it's really important to look at the wider space and industry, and something that we are really passionate about doing to make sure we keep our finger on the pulse of what's going on outside.
Yeah. I guess what I'll just touch on now is that obviously that's where you are today and what you've done, and
Mhm.
fantastic for taking us through that as well. Are you able to kind of talk about your journey? We've seen that you have this. You may have started from a service desk kind of experience. Can you talk to your journey to how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, absolutely. And so my start of my experience with ServiceNow started with frustration and anger and hatred for it. Okay. Now, before you cut that out and get me sacked, I'm gonna take you through exactly why that's the case. So, when I was at university, I studied digital music, so kind of a bit of technology, a bit of music, nothing to do with where I am. Well, kind of is to do where I am now, but that's a different story. I was working in a contact center in the financial services industry. And this place, because it was financial services, it was very locked down and you weren't allowed to have a phone, right? And I was sat there in the contact center doing nights, earning a bit of money to pay through university. And one
Oh
day I
yes,
was
we've
sat
been
in the,
there.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
One day I was sat in the contact center doing my job, and this guy walks into the room. And he's got a mobile phone, and no one is allowed a mobile phone. Even the top guys are not allowed a mobile phone. I looked at him, and I was like, whatever job that guy does, I want that job because he gets to walk around with a phone. So I asked him, I said, what do you do? And he said, I work on the service desk, I work within the IT team. So from then I was like, I want to be a service desk guy.
Oh
So,
yes.
so, so just because, think of all the glamour, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I applied for a job on the service desk and I got it, right? And my mission when I was on the service desk was to be the best possible ticket logger I could be. That was my
Hmm.
mission when I started. I wanted to log 1,000 tickets a month. And we were using a different tool at the time. And I became a wizard at that tool. I knew all the keyboard shortcuts. I knew where to click to do everything. And then all of a sudden, one day my manager came along and said, oh, we're moving to a new tool. It's called ServiceNow. It's on the web now. It's not an application. Here's the link. We start on Monday. Right, that was the enablement we got. And I just remember thinking, what am I going to do now? This is my secret sauce. I know exactly how to use everything in this tool, and I'm really good at it. It's what makes me good at my job.
Hmm.
And then all of a sudden I started using ServiceNow, and I don't know where anything is. I don't know how I'm going to be effective in this tool. And as you guys will know from having similar backgrounds and experiences, it didn't take long for you to realize, actually, this is really good. I can
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
things a lot quicker
Yeah.
in this tool than I ever had before, and I'm so much more productive. I'm actually spending more time thinking about my customer than thinking about being good at what I'm doing in my tool. And I think the tool itself, this is going to sound really evangelist, like corny, but I think it really did make me think more about the job I was doing and the purpose rather than the tool, because the tool didn't get in my way. And it was uninvasive in a way that made me focus on being really good as a service desk analyst.
Hmm.
And from then on, really, I wanted to be attached to anything to do with ServiceNow. So I attached myself to projects in that organization. I then moved around a couple of places and made sure I was attached to it there. And then before I knew it, much earlier than I ever expected, an opportunity came up to join ServiceNow and do what I was doing, there. And I didn't look back, and I've now been here for 2.5 years going
Yeah,
strong.
great.
So really coming from a service desk background, trying to build that knowledge, understanding the value of the platform and how transformative it can be for organizations. And then I never left.
Yeah. Wow.
Wow.
What a journey. So I love it when you talk about. I light up when people talk about their service desk days. I light up because it was one of some of the best days
Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah. I
I
completely agree.
remember, Scott. I was that guy with the phone, Nokia 3310,
Mhm.
walking around lording it up like the Lord of the Manor. I can use my phone wherever I like. 24 hour shift. Nah, what days? What days? So how have
Yeah.
you? So here's a question then. So if we go back to your service desk days, in fact, I've got two loaded questions. One, how how do you think ServiceNow? What's the best improvement ServiceNow have put in place since those days? And is there anything back then you wish you would have had on the platform? So is there anything back in your service desk days you thought, oh, it'd been great if we'd have had that at that time?
Employee center, I think, is the biggest thing that I wish we'd had
Really?
10 years ago.
Mm.
Because I think one of the biggest challenges that we had is Service Portal was a great idea, right? And we had some great templates. But I think looking back on what ServiceNow did, we built this kind of basic starter kit for a Service Portal. And we said, use this as a basis to build great things. And I think what a lot of customers were guilty of doing, a lot of partners and implementers like me, including myself in projects, were guilty of doing is saying, that's good enough. what we did is we got this kind of blank service portal and we gave it to people and we expected them to have that Amazon style experience, right? And we know it wasn't there.
Yeah.
So the work that the employee experience team have done over the last couple of years to develop Employee Center, where for me, it's truly one of the first products we had where you can install it and value comes immediately without almost no configuration. For me, is transformational. I think it really has taken us multiple steps forward in making people's lives easier when using ServiceNow and interacting with it. And quite often the portal's someone's first experience with software, right? If we'd had that 10 years ago, I think we'd be on the path to 50 billion by now because I think it's just so transformative.
Yeah.
I think the one thing I would change about ServiceNow is I'm a millennial. It's my generation, right? And we're getting this reputation for being millennial grey. So everyone's houses are all grey inside. Everyone's sofa's grey. All these houses.
I've not heard of that.
Are grey.
I've not
heard
of that.
Of this phenomenon. So
have you noticed my grey wall behind you?
If you look at houses nowadays, most people build them and they've got grey windows and grey roof and all that kind of stuff. And that's apparently a millennial fascination. I would like more colour. I'd like us to see like space kitties coming in from the screen and stars coming down when you do a good thing. I'd just like to see it a bit more like Twitch-esque, I suppose, in a respect that it hits you with a bit more colour. It's a professional platform, right? So I get it, but that's the only thing I'd change.
You mean something like, hang on, is this going to work? Is this going to work? Yes, you mean something like that.
Oh, there you go.
Look at that.
Oh, yeah. He's very proud of this.
I'm very proud of my lasers. For anyone that's
cool.
just listening to, I just made lasers come across the screen. That's what we want on ServiceNow. We want lasers.
That's it. More lasers.
More lasers.
Austin Powers, is it?
So I think we're getting there. So I know that in the next releases we're looking at things like better gamification and incentivization within the product. So I think that's going to get us some way towards that. But yeah, a little bit more shiny and lasers would be great.
I've just noticed something. Is that a duck on your shelf?
Yeah. Oh, well done. Good spot.
Where's that?
Yeah. You don't see the duck.
There it is. Look. See,
I mean,
full
marks.
Hang on. How can you see the duck? Right.
How can you not see the duck? You got your glasses on.
There you go.
No,
it's a little Chuck Tanassi duck. Look. See,
I
love
that.
Bow tie. This isn't a ServiceNow official thing. I got it from my kids.
Yeah.
I just thought I'd put it on there just in case.
Hey.
Oh, what a guy!
I do want to call this out though a little bit. How are you seeing that duck? Have you got a different resolution of screen than me? So I can when I'm looking at you guys, all I can see is like an envelope like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
I've got phone aspect ratio.
Yeah. What have you got then?
I don't know. Mine's on a widescreen, so
can you see?
Can
you see everything over there?
I can see the whole shit. No, I can't. No, just can see the edge of your door.
What can? Oh, right. You can see the edge of my door. You can't see anything past there, no.
Can't see your shelf at the top. No.
Right.
Just,
you can't see the stuff that you just mentioned.
You stuff there, have you?
No. Right. I'll tell you why. Right. I've got to mention this. Sorry, Scott. We do this.
Yeah.
I was really ill last week, so I was coughing loads. So I got moved out into the guest bedroom, which is actually my office here. So if the camera is going that way, you'll be able to see kind of a bed set on and I've tried to keep it out of camera.
I think you're all good.
Right, okay. Good. So if I hadn't have said anything then, no one would know about it, basically. Right.
You're right.
Okay.
But now they do. And that's committed to tape for the rest of time.
Right. Back on track. James, where do we want to go? Are we going through your silly question? Are we ready for that?
Well, I just want to ask one thing. I mean, there's something that we don't often kind of go to, but let's hear about who the real Scott Gamble is outside of ServiceNow world. We're talking like hobbies, football teams. You're from Pompey, right? You're from Portsmouth or Southampton?
I didn't realise this was going to turn into a Louis Theroux style expose on.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We go in all sorts of directions. You got to be.
Yeah. So I am from Portsmouth. Yeah, born and bred, and you can't really live in Portsmouth without knowing something about the football team. I'm a Pompey supporter, but not a massive. Football's not my passion. My passion is I'm a petrol head, so especially motorcycles. So I don't know if you can see the background, but I've got a picture of one of my bikes there. I love that. I spend a lot of time on that. I love technology. I don't think you can really do what we all do without kind of having that spill into your personal life. So, for example, my flight sim setup's not enabled at the moment, but After
Oh,
work, after a busy day, sometimes the flight sim, the yoke will come out and we'll do some flight sim,
That's cool.
simulation, all that kind of stuff's great. And I've got 2 lovely kids and a wonderful wife as well. So, everything
yeah.
keeps me very busy. But like I said, kind of tech runs through everything really in a way, whether it's the technology of trying to fix my bike when it breaks or trying to
Yeah.
land a plane in Madeira. All those kind of things come into play.
Absolutely. Are your kids into tech? Have you managed to get them into tech, or they kind of pushing back?
Yeah, my son's just turned 7, and what we're really trying to do, we're almost going the opposite way. I'm trying to, because kids nowadays at their age, tech is just interwoven as part of their life, and I almost
Absolutely.
feel
Yeah.
like you only have one chance to introduce them to it, it's terrifying, right? There are so many different things and traps that a child can fall into as they navigate their world around technology. So my son got his first ever iPad for his birthday 2 weeks ago, and
Okay.
it's been locked down. But
Mm.
he's going to work out a way around it, because kids nowadays, like, they're savants when it comes to technology because they've grown up around it. So we're trying to protect him from certain things. Like, we know that things like Roblox, probably not a great product, but we can't put this on the podcast. But that things
Of
like
course we
Roblox,
can.
we're shut down
Yes.
because
Yeah.
that's like an open world thing.
Yeah.
And trying to really get them to have a thirst for knowledge on using technology to get knowledge rather than to entertain. That's the only
Yeah.
thing I
Yeah.
would say, is the key thing we're trying to do. How can they use it to learn rather than using it as a tool just to, play
Yeah.
games all day?
It's difficult. Have they got have you got a Switch?
So I used to have a Switch. I now have a Steam
Yeah.
Deck, and the Steam Deck is a bit too advanced for them to get their way around. But we do have, which I bought, which is crazy, right? I bought it like a couple of months ago. I bought a Wii because I
Right.
thought, we haven't got a Switch at home, but Wii's
Yeah.
really cheap,
Yeah.
and the kids don't care that
Yeah.
the graphics aren't the
Yeah.
latest,
We did
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
same
Yeah. Yeah.
thing.
and they love that.
Really? See,
Yeah.
we went Switch. So I this was a few Christmases before. I think this might have been pre-COVID. I can't remember. It might have even been COVID, but I remember, like every bloke in the world, my wife does all the Christmas shopping, right? All the Christmas shopping, and she just says to me last minute, "Oh, you need to get the kids something," right? So I do what everyone would do, and I just throw a load of money and I swoop in with a Switch. So she'd spent all
Yeah,
year buying all these little
yeah,
intricate,
Yeah.
thoughtful things,
Yeah.
and I steam in. I buy this
Here's the
Switch,
thing you're
which
really going
goes
to
down.
care about.
Boom!
yeah,
It was literally the hit present, much to my wife's annoyance at the time, right?
yes,
But it it's great because I get to compete and beat them at Mario Kart. I'm absolutely undefeated. I do not take it easy on them at all.
No.
But it's fantastic. But it's great that they can, they play online play, interact with their friends, which I think is part of modern age, right? Rather than, we used to go around your bikes and knock for people to come out and play. And these days they just sit on computer games and play like that. So it's great for that. But I think sometimes it can be a bit overwhelming for them. We have
yeah.
the challenge where we're having to put time boundaries. You've got an hour today. Shut down.
Absolutely, but they're developing skills that, when they come into the workforce, and bringing it back onto the boring subject of work again. But when they come into the workforce, they are going to be profoundly different to us, because they're
Oh,
already, tech will be done, it'll be mastered. They'll
Yeah.
know that. So what will their tech be? What set us apart from other people in our careers
yeah.
is that we knew how to use tech to our advantage. Everyone's going to know how to do that. So what's going to be their tech?
So
Yeah.
just to bring it again, just keep on topic there. So you mentioned James mentioned it before, and we did see a post that you put about what will the service desk look like in 2030. So I'm not going to ask you to kind of relive your presentation, but just in a summary, where do you think the service desk's going in the next 5 years?
The key message that I wanted to relay with the talk that I did was that it's already changing. It's changing exponentially, and that's not. I don't mean that as a cliche. It's genuinely things that were normal 6 months ago are now behind the times. And if you aren't preparing your teams for the fact their jobs are going to be completely different, you are doing them a disservice. That's it in a nutshell, right? And practically, what I mean by that is, you have people at the moment in the service desk who are known for crafting really great emails with customers. We
Yeah,
know that within the next year, no one will write emails anymore. That sounds crazy, doesn't it? But why would they, right?
yeah,
Because
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's going to be generated for them. Sure, you're going to have human checkpoints and you're going to have people quality checking that content, but the person on your service desk that's known for writing the best emails at times of crisis is no longer going to need that skill. So what skill are you going to train them for? We saw it in when we did like virtual agent and we started doing machine learning. We saw it to a lesser degree. Something I'd always say to customers when implementing virtual agent is treat it like a new member of your service desk and get a member of your existing service desk to train it like they're a new team member. And that concept was quite foreign. A lot of companies didn't get that, if I'm honest. But that's not the case for Gen AI. You don't need any training. Gen AI just builds itself, right? So as a result, people are going to use it and they're going to take advantage of it. So the concept of what a service desk needs to survive has to be different. And I'm asking people at the moment, what do you think is going to be the unique value of your service desk when a lot of the functions you do today aren't there anymore? And I don't have the answer, but I would say that they need to consider what's their unique value proposition that makes them do something that no one else can do.
Okay. So would you say that advice to anyone leading a service desk as well as members of the service desk themselves?
Yeah, I think the leaders are the ones that are really under the gun at the moment because they have to help their teams adjust. And I think a conversation you had on one of your previous sessions, I think you were talking about how skills are changing and people that are coming into the workforce are different now. They're coming with different skills. What's the career path for a service desk analyst now? Because I've talked to a lot of service desk managers over the last year, and the number one skill that they need now is customer service, because they're dealing with multiple interactions at once now. So they've got a couple of live chat conversations, tickets going on. They're becoming far more like contact center agents, right? So the service desk person who wants to be technical, move into networks or move into desktop support or whatever it might be, what's their path now? And I don't think we have the answer, because I think a lot of people are skipping the queue. And again, you talked about this on a previous podcast, is that people are coming out of university with programming skills, DevOps skills, and they're going into those roles, not the guys on the service desk. So what are they going to do next? I don't know what the answer is, by the way, right? I think that some service desks are going to go down the route of they're going to become more enterprise service management and they will run like contact centers. Others will find other routes to be closer to DevOps teams and closer to product teams.
It's interesting.
I mean, does it entirely depend on your audience as well, in terms of, I remember doing lots of kind of different stats and KPIs, and just understanding how your customers are actually reaching you today, whether it's through phone, email, portal. It used to be always, let's try and turn off email, let's get them to the portal and doing self-service. I mean, how much is that, is the phones going to disappear? Is it going to be no longer a kind of human element? It's going to just go, you're going to talk to a robot and it's fine because it kind of sounds like a human. I don't know whether there is still people that just, I just prefer to speak to a human, stop putting me through a robot.
Really?
I think, so you've got a million people that are thought leaders on AI that are going to tell you how this is going to go. My view on this is that human interaction will become purely optional and at the point of need. So as a millennial, like we talked about earlier, if I can get through an entire customer service interaction without talking to a human, that's my heaven, right? I don't want to have to speak to anybody to get something done. Whereas if I have a complaint or my sentiment comes into it, I want a connection with the person. And we're at quite a unique time where we've got 4 generations in our workforce, and the oldest generation is growing by proportion. So we're seeing more people in that kind of older baby boomers, closer to retirement generation than we ever have, because they're working longer. So their necessity, their threshold for human interaction will be lower. And, people that are coming through now, Gen Zers, will be higher. So how do you go in AI, how do you pick up when a customer doesn't want an automated response, and that might be through some sort of sentiment analysis, and then get them to a human for a human-on-human conversation as soon as possible? I think that's going to be the key, and service desks that can master that relationship will probably have the greatest success.
Yeah, I've done a lot of work in like the public sector, and especially like speaking to like doctors and nurses, where they almost want you to understand the empathy. Like if they're on the phone to you and saying, look, hey, I'm working the A&E department, my computer's down, this is absolutely going to affect, human life.
If
I'm talking to a bot, it's going to say, yes, your ticket is now P3,
exactly.
Based on the words that you put in. It's like, oh, great, let me just talk to someone. But yeah, I think it's really interesting to understanding where that break point is, what's acceptable to get it down that route, or
Yeah,
what escalation points you talk to people.
it'll be interesting to see how it pans out, because I'm
Mm.
with you, Scott. If I can get something sorted or something raised without speaking to a human, I'm more than happy. However, I'm exactly the same. And yeah, if I've got a complaint, I want to speak to a human. I want to know. I want them to know how annoyed I
Yeah.
am.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it goes down to empathy, right? Yeah, I guess that I want them to understand that this is critical for me. It may not be in their world, but yeah. Can a bot understand that? Don't know.
I don't think cutting channels is the right way to go. If anyone talks to me about getting rid of their phone line so that they can, push everyone through the portal, I always advise against it. I think have the maximum amount of contact channels you can. For sure, push your customers down the most cost-effective route for you, because if you're a business, you need to do that.
Yeah.
Not just time but money, but get them down the most cost-effective route where you can, but always give them the option.
Yeah.
And different generations will have different preferences.
Yeah.
Do we know?
Yeah.
Do any of us know? So when I was back in the service desk and used to run service desks, the phone was a huge channel, right? And it used to make up a large percentage of the contacts. What is it now? Do we know? What it's got to
That'd be
have
an
dropped?
interesting
Is it
stat.
significantly dropped? Is it?
I think the benchmark varies hugely depending on sector. I think, like you mentioned, James, from the public sector, that's going to be a completely different number to a customer like Amazon or Uber, which basically have zero voice contact, right? So I think it depends. And again, it depends on what type of service they're offering. A GP service, phone calls are the primary currency. People want to talk to a doctor about their medical concerns, right? So I don't think there's a hard and fast rule. I would say that if you to roughly spread it across demographics, from what I've seen, younger generations prefer non-phone contact, and that will continue to decrease. But I think it's about trying to get them where they need to be and get the right contact method for their time of need.
This is an insightful conversation. I could carry on for ages about this.
I know.
That's what I was hoping for.
There's something. So we've got a service desk that we've all got in common. I could talk for ages, and it makes me sit back and take me back years and go, I remember those days. What would that be like now?
But I'm with you. It was the best time of my career. The camaraderie and service desk days were great.
It was so much fun. It was so much fun at the time. And as much as I could sit here and talk about it for ages, I'm conscious that we've all got to go and do some work at some point. So that will lead us a nice segue to a section that I like to call James's idiotic question.
You've changed it. Come on.
I've changed it. I've got to think of something new every time.
See, Scott's an avid listener, so he'll know what's coming.
It seems like it's becoming more personal every time. The title just gets more searing.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to ask it anyway, because anyone new coming to the podcast and just doesn't know James's silly question, here goes. So, Scott, Phil McDermott comes to you and says, "Hey, I've seen that you were speaking at the SDI events, and I love what you're doing, but I've got a big challenge for you to solve." He says, "Right, we're running out of the theme. We're getting to Z in the releases for ServiceNow. We don't know what to do after that. So, Scott, what theme do you come up with for your new ServiceNow releases?"
So it's probably not going to surprise you to think that I already thought about the answer to this question, being a listener of the podcast. So I'm going to give you my first idea, which I've self-rejected, which is that I recently stumbled across a YouTube video which provides 5 uninterrupted hours of the BBC Radio 4 shipping forecast. And I've found alongside that and rug cleaning videos, there is nothing better to cure insomnia than listening to that. So we could name them all after regions on the shipping forecast, but I got rid of that one.
Boring. I love it. I absolutely love it.
There also wasn't enough regions to cover all the letters of the alphabet, so that was a kind of real problem straight away. What I would say is that I'm a big fan of comedy. My wife and I love going to see comedy shows. We're really lucky that we have a kind of promoter around here who managed to get really big names to the village where I live, which is incredible. So I would choose UK comedians, and I'd start with the greatest of all time in my view, which is Mortimer Reeves. I also love the idea of a Uvavu and Iranu ServiceNow release.
Yes.
Just
Oh, I
unbelievable.
love that.
And, you've got Pasco, you've got Kay, you've got Corbett, you've got Gervais, you've got loads of great ones to choose from. So I would name them all after them, and obviously get them to plug it with each release as well.
Oh, I love that. I
Have
think
you
that's got to
actually
be my
thought
favourite
about?
so far.
Yeah, I think yeah. To be fair, I was sold on the shipping forecast. I thought
I
that's
think
right up my street.
You're going to want to dive into
Right
that
up
one
my
a bit,
street.
aren't you?
But the have you thought about which comedians you'd have? Who would you have for Q?
Okay, we're going straight with the tough ones right away, right?
Well,
This
of course
isn't
I
the
would.
alphabet challenge, is it?
I thought, who would you-
I'm going to have to think about that one. Q and Z are going to be hard, right? But yeah, I think for me, I'm a Vic and Bob guy, and anything associated with that. Recently went and saw Brian Butterfield do his business seminar, so B will be Butterfield. Yeah, loads of great comedians out there. I'm sure we'd find someone for Q.
I would love to be in the audience for Shooting Stars. That would have been amazing.
Yeah, that's it. That would be a dream. A guest on Shooting Stars is probably the bucket list dream for me.
Iranu.
You can imagine Bill saying it, can't you? Let's go, Iranu.
We're gonna have that clipped, I think.
No,
have it clipped. Okay, so now we're on to the alphabet challenge. So, Scott, I'm assuming you know how this works, but for anyone that doesn't, let me explain the rules while I share the screen. That would help. Screen. Window. Okay, I should be sharing my screen. I am sharing my screen. Brilliant.
Yep, all good.
The rules of the game. So, we're going to go through the alphabet. For each letter of the alphabet, you need to come up with a ServiceNow term or phrase that relates to ServiceNow. Now, you can't use the version, so you can't go Aspen, Berlin. You can't do that. That's not allowed. You get extra nerd points when James and I decide if they're nerdy enough. There may be some weird challenges as we go through. Yet I haven't thought of any. James will try and distract you as much as he can.
Yeah, I'll say random things. Apple.
And the idea is it's as fast as you can go through the alphabet, and you pick up penalties if you miss somehow. I probably haven't explained it very well. If you are listening and don't understand, go and watch some of the other episodes where I explain it better. Right. Anyway, let's move on. It's just for fun. Oh, right. I'm sharing. Hang on. Get rid of that. We've started. Right. Right. This is going to go well, isn't it? No, not yet. Okay.
Not yet.
Not yet. I need to move screens around.
More screens. Oh, geez.
You're giving me lots of time to prepare. You see, this is the thing, right?
Right. Are you ready? We're going to start. James, you ready on the clock?
I'm ready on the clock.
Okay. In 3, 2, 1, let's go.
Asset management.
In the bag.
Could be B.
Benchmarks.
C.
Oh, my favourite. CSDM. Common Services Data Model.
Oh, that's your favourite?
Yeah,
that's your favourite.
Yes.
You're alone on that one.
I'm obliged to say it's my favourite. D for DevOps. Portfolio I look after. Great products. Employee Centre, right? How good's that? Employee Centre.
There you go.
Very good.
Yeah.
Fred Luddy, our founder.
Oh, that's a great show.
That is a good shout. I'm going to give.
No one's had that either.
We'll give extra points for that.
Yeah, that's what I like. I'm not going to get any nerd points, so that's a relief. My colleague Verity manages this portfolio's governance, risk, and compliance.
Very nice, very nice. Powering through these. It starts quick, doesn't it, Russ? Every single time it goes.
It always starts quick.
You suddenly come up to certain letters. You're like,
yeah.
Do you know what? I can't actually see it. I can't see you guys on screen at the minute, and I'm scared to change the screens.
That's all right. There's a lot of scratching of heads, and
you'll have to narrate for me.
HR service delivery.
Go for it.
Can I have that one? Is that all right?
Fine.
Yeah.
Accepted.
I, implementation. Use Now Create if you want to improve the quality and value realization of your implementation.
Nice
Nice
time
plug
back
there,
to
nice plug.
earlier segment. Nice.
Right, J. J is super hard because I've got Jakarta in my head and I know I can't use it, but I can't get Jakarta out of my head.
There's no stopping you getting it in your head.
You can pass for 10 seconds penalty.
Yeah.
Use them wisely.
Okay.
You only
So if I
allowed 3
spend more
now.
than 10
That's
seconds
good.
on one, I should pass, right?
You should.
Well, maybe, yeah.
Well, it depends. You could go 12
J.
and then come up with something.
Can I have JavaScript?
Yes, you can.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
K for... Can't use it.
Not like Kingston.
Keyboard shortcuts. My favourite one, Control Command I, impersonate user, or Control Alt I if you're a Windows user.
I
Didn't even know that.
I didn't know that. I'm going to give it and give nerd points. Nerd points on that, please,
That's a
James.
nerd point. Okay.
Yeah.
Very well done. I'll take.
I didn't know that. I'm having it.
Very
cool.
cool.
L. London. Can't get that out of my head now. This release rule is really killing me today, guys.
Just get it out of the way. Like, as soon as it comes up, just say it.
I was on a webinar last week about improvements to localization, so I'll take localization for today.
Localization.
Yep.
Can I just say, I've just noticed something really exciting, James. In the top left-hand corner of the screen, sorry, Scott, there's a timer going on for me. So I can see how long it's going. Yeah. Why have I never noticed?
Ah.
Right. Anyway, let's carry on.
Scott.
You guys chat through my alphabet challenge, all right? That's okay. I don't mind the time going up. Where are we? Oh, M. It's on the screen in big letters. Right. M is maturity, because maturity models are really important and everyone gets really bored about them, but I actually think they're really useful. So.
I like how you're explaining each one. I like the justification.
Yeah, it's wasted time, but it's good. It's good. Context is everything.
Now create. Oh God, I've got to say now create.
Yep.
Okay. Oh dear.
Can't have oh dear. Did I tell you, James, as well? When I saw Chuck last week, he told me that they used this at the Dallas Dev Meetup, the Alphabet Challenge. We've gone international. They didn't. No, we didn't get royalties.
We've charged him for it.
Right. I'm going to say OT, but I've got to justify that by saying what it stands for, and it stands for Operational Technology Management.
Yeah.
Which is Internet of Things and all that kind of stuff. It's a very under-known part of our portfolio. Anyone who runs a business where there's lots of IoT should look at it because it's great.
Absolutely.
P. Can I have project? Is that good enough?
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Management.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Quebec.
Oh, I was about to click. I was about to click it then. Why was I didn't do that?
Yeah, you're going to accept Quebec.
I was, yeah.
So I'm trying to trick you now. I'm going to pass Q because it's too hard for me.
Pressure's on. Oh, one pass. Okay. Yep.
For me, this morning we were talking about Rise Up, how we've got well over halfway on our way to getting 1 million new people involved in the ServiceNow platform. I'm part of the Next Gen as a mentor, and Next Gen's just the most amazing program. So anyone who doesn't know about Next Gen, go and look it up.
Boom.
S for Scott, which can't count, although I do work for ServiceNow.
Pass.
Pass is available. Okay.
Shouldn't be pass an S. It's an easy one. It should be easy one. T for TACO, Training Enablement Certification. I work very closely with those guys.
Like it.
They are great.
I've got a question, James. Are you saying pass or pass?
Pass. Pass. I'm not.
You're a pass person, are you? Yeah, but I thought you were from Scotland, didn't you? Isn't it? Isn't it?
But... Right, you're wasting Scott's time.
I can't see you. I don't know what's going on.
Because recently we talked about adding user criteria for change models. So now if you're using change models in change management, you can create user criteria, which is a really cool feature.
Like it.
V is for value stream management, which is a core part of this whole DevOps world, and we're exploding with loads of new products in Washington for that. Well, I'm not going to become a walking advert, but look it up, it's great.
You don't know.
We talked about workforce optimization. We talked about gamification, which is coming into workforce optimization in Washington.
Nice.
Cool. Watch out for that.
I think it's called Applaud, but don't quote me on that. Subject to change. X. Now, I've got XLAs in my head, but I don't think you can have that because I don't think that's anything really a product within ServiceNow. So I'm going to pass X because I don't think I'm going to get that.
Passing on X. Ooh.
Oh, this is the hard one.
This is the one that everyone gets stuck on.
See, now, I was going to use Y-axis, but I know that's been used on a podcast before, and I don't want to repeat it, so I'm going to think about something else.
Fair play.
We were talking about the YouTube Spoke the other day, which is something people don't use very often, but you can actually see all of your, if you have a ServiceNow instance you're using to manage your podcast, you can see all of your engagement and likes and all that stuff can be imported directly into ServiceNow.
Why don't we do that?
I like that. I like it. We don't have our own. In fact, actually, Scott, we don't have our own instance, but we would love one. If only we knew someone that worked at ServiceNow.
Developer.servicenow.com. Come on, guys. Free instances. Right. Z is. There's only one I'm ever going to do for this, and it's ZBoot. It's got to be ZBoot. Right?
Yeah, got to be ZBoot.
The one that we finish with. Right?
Stop the clock. Stop the clock.
Okay.
That was stressful.
You did great. You did much better than we did last Christmas when we started.
Was I actually sharing all that, by the way? Was I sharing?
Yeah, you were all good. Right. We had it
because I couldn't see you at all. So I want to put a mention in here, James. Right? I've got to say, I think you're right in terms of nerd points. There weren't many nerd points. There were a couple. But I loved the justification after every single one. It was a proper sales pitch after every single one.
I loved it.
I feel like I should go and investigate.
I think we all learned something in that.
I do. I want to go and see what Now Create is. I'm going to have a look. And the YouTube Spoke. So I think we need to give extra points somehow. Yeah, shortcuts.
Yep.
Extra points for learning, please. You can make them up.
Yes. Okay.
Whatever that means.
Well, I'll tell you what your time was plus the passes, and then we'll completely make up what we take off for that because of nerd points.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll orchestrate it so you're roughly at the top.
Yeah. I like that. Okay, so the time to beat, by the way, Scott, was 5 minutes 19 seconds, and that was Justin Loftus, who did a really good job. I mean, he's just a fountain of knowledge. You can just go blah 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 blah, and we'll just go through it.
I don't think he talks like that.
No, not quite. He may have taken offence to that. That's fine.
I have massive respect for Y-axis. That was. I think you were unfair on him. I think that was a really good one for Y. So I thought it must be good, right?
Do you know what happened on that? My audio cut out, so I was actually being the voice of reason, and James was disagreeing. What you didn't hear is me going, "Please give him more, and you didn't. Go on, James. Come on.
Right, so your time without the passes was 8 minutes 16 seconds.
Okay.
With the passes, 8 minutes 46 seconds. But how much time are we given for Fred Luddy? Because that's unique. We've not had Fred.
Right.
10 minutes.
For F, have we?
I think we knock off. I'm going to say 30 seconds for Fred Luddy.
30 seconds for Fred.
Yep.
Okay. So we're back down to 8:16. Okay. How can we navigate this all the way down? So the nerd points for the keyboard shortcut for impersonation. That was really cool.
I reckon 20 seconds for that. Gotta be.
20 seconds for that. Okay. We're down to 7:56.
Yep. What are the nerd points?
Can we knock off another 2.5 minutes from
No,
this?
come on.
Well, the last thing was the explanations. I think that's definitely worth at least.
I think there was a sales pitch after almost every single one, so I think you've got to take off.
It wasn't a sales pitch; it's informative. It's just information.
It was insights.
I think you've got to take off 90 seconds. Let's go in
90
bold.
seconds. You're
Let's go
making me do
big.
something.
I know I am.
All right.
But it was good though. I learned stuff. If I walk away learning stuff, right, and not just so, is it entertaining? Is it informative? Yes, on both accounts. Therefore,
That's it.
90 seconds coming off.
That's our criteria for podcasts.
Yep, that's our criteria.
Like to hear it. Works for me.
That's it. Absolutely. So your final time
Come on.
is 6 minutes 26.
Yes.
So, enter applause here, fanfare. Well done.
Where's
well done,
that
Scott.
on the
I think
board?
that was really good. That is probably about third. So top
Probably.
three. You're on the podium. So to
We're
speak.
professional then, are we? We've got probably. Probably.
Yeah, good.
We don't know.
Well,
We
I
don't
think
really
the
know
real-
Justin's time. Is he top?
I think the real A to Z challenge was the friends we made along the way. So,
Aw.
Yeah, exactly. There we are. You're not getting any more time off, Scott. For bonus.
Okay, so Scott, thanks for indulging us in our humorous alphabet challenge. James's silly question, and of course, thanks for taking us on your journey from Service Desk to ITSM Principal Consultant at ServiceNow. And it just remains me to say, I've been Russ.
I've been James. Over to you, Scott. I've been Scott. Right, that's getting clipped.
I don't know what to do.
It's not getting clipped.
The pressure was rough. The pressure was on. It's like, are you finishing here? Do I?
You
say
caved under
something?
pressure.
Can we do it again?
No.
We can do it again. You say no. So
What do you want me to say?
Um,
Do you want me to
we're doing
say
it-
and I
we're
was-
doing
and
it
I was
again.
Scott?
We're doing it again.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Scott, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on and talk about all the stuff that I've just mentioned before. I've been Russ.
Hold on, stop. Am I saying, and I've been Scott, or am I saying thanks
Yes.
for having me, guys? It's been great.
You say whatever you like.
Okay, all right.
Right.
That's it. We're making up the rules. No.
Okay.
Okay.
Hang on. Let me start again. Take 3.
Adjust.
Scott, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, indulging us with the alphabet challenge, talking to us about James's silly question, of course, your journey throughout ServiceNow, as well as some service desk tidbits along the way. Just remains me to say, I've been Russ.
Sorry. You said titbits.
Right. Okay. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll see you again next time. That's it. I've outroed for you both.
Oh, cheers.
Done.